President Vladimir V, Putin seemed to predict a boycott of the Pyeongchang Games with a defiant dismissal of the doping scandal and a foreign policy in recent years that has centered on the premise that he has rescued Russia from the humiliation inflicted on it by the West after the collapse of the Soviet Union. His spokesman, Dmitri S. Peskov, said no boycott was under discussion before the announcement. However, and the news broke late in the evening in Moscow when an immediate official reaction was unlikely. In barring Russia's team, Olympic officials left the door open for some Russian athletes. Those with histories of rigorous drug testing may petition for permission to compete in neutral uniforms. A panel appointed by the International Olympic Committee will rule on each athlete's eligibility. Although it is unknown exactly how many will clear that bar, it is certain that the contingent from Russia will be depleted significantly. Entire sports, such as biathlon and cross-country skiing, in which Russia has excelled and in which its drug violations have been many, could be wiped out completely. Any of its athletes competing under a neutral flag will be referred to as Olympic athletes from Russia. That is a departure from how the IOC has handled neutral athletes in the past. For example, athletes from Kuwait, which was barred from the 2016 Summer Games, were identified as independent Olympic athletes last year in Rio de Janeiro. Olympics officials said they might lift the ban on Russia in time for the closing ceremony, suggesting the nation's flag could make a symbolic appearance in the final hours of the Pyeongchang Games. Thomas Bach, president of IOC, has said he was perturbed not only by Russia's widespread cheating but by how it had been accomplished, by corrupting the Olympic laboratory that handled drug testing at the Games, and on orders from Russia's own Olympic officials. This decision should draw a line under this damaging episode. Quote, Mr. Bach said at a news conference, noting that Alexander Zhukov, the president of Russia's Olympic Committee whom the IOC suspended from its membership Tuesday, had issued an apology, something global regulators have long requested from the nation. In an elaborate overnight operation at the 2014 Sochi Games, a team assembled by Russia's sports ministry tampered with more than 100 urine samples to conceal evidence of top athletes' steroid use throughout the course of competition. More than 24 Russian athletes have been disqualified from the Sochi standings as a result, and Olympic officials are still sorting through the tainted results and rescinding medals. At the coming Games, Mr. Bach said Tuesday, a special medal ceremony will reassign medals to retroactive winners from Sochi. But, in light of legal appeals from many of the Russian athletes who have been disqualified by the IOC, it is uncertain if all results from Sochi will be finalized in time. The Russian Olympic Committee was also fined $15 million on Tuesday. Money that global officials said will be put toward drug testing international athletes. Read the Times' report that first laid out the details of Russia's doping scheme, and the exclusive story of a whistleblower's